Imagine a world where the Roman Empire never fell. No dark ages, no centuries of fragmented kingdoms or tribal chaos. Instead, a single, continuous superpower stretching from the sands of North Africa to the cold forests of Northern Europe. A world with aqueducts that never crumbled, libraries that never burned, and roads that remained safe for 1,000 years. What would our lives look like today if the greatest empire in human history had survived? Let's step into that alternate timeline. In this version of history, the Roman Empire didn't collapse in 476 AD. Rome adopts a multi-faith system, not through conquest, but through consensus. Instead of endless colonial conquest, Rome expands through economic alliances. America is discovered earlier, not by accident, but by intention. As Roman explorers funded by a global science council cross the Atlantic in solar-assisted ships, indigenous cultures in the Americas are preserved and merged into the empire's fabric. Women who in ancient Rome were already running businesses and temples continue to rise. By 1000 AD, female generals, philosophers, and technocrats are common. Science isn't burned at the stake. Galileo and Hypatia aren't killed or silenced, they become national heroes. Scientific thinking becomes sacred. Superstition fades. Health improves dramatically. Plagues are minimized. Hygiene, sanitation, and advanced medicine ensure a longer lifespan for everyone. There are no slave ships, no genocides. Instead, a global fusion of civilizations. A Roman-led global government could, at times, prioritize order over freedom. Poverty is minimal. Energy is clean. Roads still stretch in perfect condition from Scotland to Egypt. And under the stars, children study the stars. Not in mythological awe, but in scientific wonder. Because Rome never fell. Cultural uniformity might risk erasing unique traditions. But in this alternate timeline, the Romans are not the same as the warlike empire of ancient days. They've evolved, learned, adapted. Their obsession with legacy has transformed into a commitment to progress. The concept of nations as we know them is replaced by provinces of earth. Each retaining its local identity, but governed by Roman law and infrastructure. Christianity doesn't become dominant by suppressing paganism, but by coexisting with it. A world where knowledge wasn't buried beneath rubble, where libraries weren't destroyed, where minds weren't silenced, where for once, humanity didn't restart again and again, but built something, kept it standing, and reached for the stars from a foundation that never cracked. Temples and churches stand side by side. Hindu sages, Muslim scholars, Jewish mystics, and Zen monks walk the same streets, teaching in the same institutions. Africa isn't carved up by European powers. Asia isn't exploited. Instead, these regions are equal stakeholders in the empire. Timbuktu becomes a center of robotic innovation. Beijing becomes a hub of bioengineering. Lahore develops quantum computing alongside Rome itself. Human development is balanced, not skewed by power games. The world becomes less about us versus them, and more about we. The Inquisition never happens. The Crusades never ignite. Instead of holy wars, there are holy dialogues. Massive international conferences dedicated to spiritual unity. Instead, internal reforms, smarter leadership, and stronger borders helped the empire evolve. The Renaissance begins not in the 15th century, but perhaps as early as 800 AD, with continuous trade, scientific thought thrives. By the 1300s, the Romans invent a primitive form of global communication, encoded messages sent through towers using light pulses, then steam-powered telegraphs, and eventually digital crystal tablets powered by magnetic energy. The Nidus Romanus, a global web of information, connects scholars in Alexandria with artists in Gaul, engineers in Britannia with poets in Persia. Knowledge is decentralized, archived, and freely accessible. Roman philosophy merges with African wisdom, Persian mathematics, and Indian medicine. The arts explode. Sculptors using laser tools. Architects designing megacities powered by geothermal energy. Writers crafting epic tales on floating digital scrolls. Gladiator battles are replaced with Olympic-scale performances combining athletics, drama, and holography. Education is free, and every citizen, regardless of status, receives training in logic, rhetoric, and science. The empire becomes not just a political force, but a philosophical one, a global university where innovation is sacred. The Roman obsession with engineering evolves into industrial-scale innovation. Steam engines emerge in the 9th century, airplanes by the 12th, electricity, computing, and space travel become realities by the 1600s. While our world was stumbling through feudal wars and plagues, this alternate Rome races ahead. Space stations orbit Earth by the 1700s, colonies on Mars by the 1800s. The Roman eagle now flies not just over Earth, but across the solar system. The Western and Eastern Roman empires reunite under one banner, a multilingual, multicultural civilization that embraces change rather than fears it. Imagine Caesar and Cleopatra not as distant figures of the past, but as the ancestors of modern-day world leaders. Latin remains the dominant language, not just in law and medicine, but in daily life. English might not even exist in the form we know today. Instead, a form of Neo-Latin becomes the universal tongue, taught in every school, written on every screen, spoken across continents. Technologically, the Roman Empire's survival accelerates human progress by centuries. Culturally, the empire fuses traditions from Europe, Africa, and Asia into a unified but diverse identity. Religion, often a source of division in our real timeline, evolves differently here. Geopolitically, the Roman Empire becomes a stabilizing force. Wars still occur, but on a smaller scale. And what about the internet? That too arrives earlier. One of the most dramatic consequences? There is no colonialism as we know it. Without a fall, the Roman Empire also prevents centuries of gender inequality and scientific suppression. Of course, not everything is perfect. Continuous superempire brings its own risks. Surveillance could become widespread. Dissent might be managed too tightly. Fast forward to the 21st century in this world, a time where Mars has cities, Earth has peace councils instead of military bases, and the average citizen lives to 120 with full mental clarity. This world is not utopia, but it is a world where the light of civilization didn't flicker out for centuries.